Hi everyone and welcome to Newegg TV. My name is Paul. Today I'm going to be doing an unboxing and overview of this new video card from GIGABYTE. This is the GIGABYTE GeForce GTX 680 Super Overclock. We'll start off with a closer look at the retail box, which is, I'm going to say, fairly nondescript for a video card of the magnitude that's inside the box, but we'll come to that. Super Overclock. So this is a factory overclocked edition of the GTX 680 from NVIDIA, GeForce GTX 680. The GPU that's installed in this video card is the GK104 codename. It's Kepler architecture, 28 nanometer manufacturing process. It's proven to be quite effective at rendering 3D, as well as maintaining a fair amount of wattage, performance per wattage, so it's actually pretty power efficient as well. You get 2 gigabytes of GDDR5 memory, 2048 megabytes. It is running in this video card at an effective speed of 6200 megahertz, and it is on a 256-bit bus. You get OC Guru 2, and you get the WindForce 5X cooling solution. There's more information on that in the back right here. So OC Guru 2 is simply GIGABYTE's overclocking utility, so you can go in there and do some stuff like fan settings, fan profile settings, since there's 5 individual fans on this video card. It's got digital power delivery, so you can play around with that. VGA tweaking utility, overclocking, extremely overclocking ability, GPU and memory voltage adjusting software. So GPU voltage, lots of stuff in there. OC GPU and memory clock, fan profiles, 5 profiles. Anyway, the function and benefits, features and benefits and functions. There's a little layout of the software for you. Enough on the software. Let's look over here on the left at the WindForce 5X cooling solution. WindForce has been used by GIGABYTE for some of their coolers, their customized coolers that they put on some of their cards. And a lot of the existing ones that you'll see out there, they have a 680 and a 670 version that has the 3-fan cooling solution, which has proven to be quite effective. Now here's sort of a exploded view of the cooling solution, and if you're looking at this, it might look a little funny to you. It'll make more sense once I get the video card out. But here is the PCB, here's a backplate. There is a large vapor chamber with a copper block on it. On top of that, you have a large aluminum fin array with 9 individual 6mm copper heat pipes. As you can see, you got 5 on this side, 4 more on the opposite side, and then you actually have 5 40mm fans to cool the thing, as well as the shroud that goes over the outside of it. So GIGABYTE has designed this for a few reasons. I'm going to go more into that once I actually get this out of the box. Ultra durable VGA, they're using a 2-ounce copper PCB. They are claiming 10 to 30% increased overclocking capability, 10 to 30% less power switching loss when you're switching. I'm guessing that is when you're switching between a discrete GPU or switching between different GPU modes such as 2D and 3D, and also 5 to 10% lower GPU temperature. They also have Pro Analyzers integrated, which is sort of a fancier new capacitor that combines several units onto the same little chip. It has some benefits that are listed right there. 2-ounce copper PCB, Tier 1 Samsung and Hynix memory is used for the 2 gigabytes of integrated GDDR5 memory. Japanese solid caps, ferrite core, metal chokes, low RDS MOSFETs, and then finally on the right side here, GPU Gauntlet, which is basically GIGABYTE saying when we choose the GPUs that we use in our high-end graphics cards, we go through the world's #1 GPU cherry-picking process, which means they take each GPU, they test it. No GPU is going to be the same. Some are going to perform better than others, and they're going to use the best GPUs that they find. And this because this is their highest-end GTX 680. Let's take a look inside the box. Here's a quick look at accessories. You get the GIGABYTE graphics card quick guide, which is sort of a generic guide for installing a graphics card. You get a guide that's specific to the Super Overclock Gaming Essence card. And inside here we have another look at the cards, some very specific stuff about installation. There's a rubber support. Oh, there's a rubber support there. You can provide extra support by putting that on top of a secondary PCI Express slot. A little breakout of the cards, some of the same stuff we saw in the box. Here is your Super Overclock driver and software disk. You probably will want to head over to the NVIDIA website to get the latest GPU drivers. If you want that gaming or the utility that's included for overclocking, you can head over to the GIGABYTE website to download that and get more up-to-date versions. Other than that, for accessories, we have a couple power adapters, because this card does have two 8-pin PCI Express power connectors. So this will take a couple Molex adapters for each and convert that to an 8-pin PCI Express power adapter. To be perfectly honest, if your power supply does not have that already, you might want to upgrade your power supply if you're going with a card that draws this much juice. But if you're using an older one that still has plenty of wattage, you should be fine. And that looks like that's all that's included in the box. So let's look at the card. Actually, before I do the detail on the card, quick demo here. These are these little rubber stoppers. This was in the box. It was just buried at the bottom, and I thought they must have included that. So what this is an extra support that goes on your motherboard. Depending on what type of motherboard layout you have, they've pretty much accommodated for everything. So it's a triple slot video card. It is fairly heavy because of the size of the cooler on it. So if your card's going to go in right here, you might have a 1X PCI slot right here. You might have an empty slot right here. And then you also might have a full-length PCI Express slot. You also might have a PCI slot like this, which is a little bit taller, the legacy PCI slot. So this has adhesive on two sides. If you're going to be going with or if your third slot's a PCI Express slot like that, you can just simply prop them up like that and stick it on, and that will provide some extra support. If your third slot is a PCI slot, you can actually put them on sideways like that, and that will give you the proper distance to also provide some extra support. If your third slot, such as on this board, is a 1X slot, or if it's empty, you can actually break these two apart, stack them on top of each other, and then put them on the empty space right there. And again, it's going to provide extra support to the card, because as you can see, when installed in the slot, like so, there is a fair amount of overhang. Again, triple slot card, as you can see, and having that extra support right there will mean that as gravity is pulling that way, which in most computer cases the way it's pulling, rather than simply providing or pulling on the PCI slot, that support is going to basically provide some extra support and keep your PCI Express slot from breaking. It's been long enough, so now let's move on to the actual video card. So I'm going to start off with the measurement here, and as you can see, this is just shy of 11.5 inches long, measured from the PCI bracket. So make sure you have plenty of room in your computer case to handle the size of this card. The size lengthwise is also compounded by the size widthwise, because again, 3-slot video card. So looking here at the back, we can see we have SoC on the PCI bracket. We also have some extra ventilation area right there. Bear in mind this is an open shroud cooler, so it is going to eject air into your computer case. So bear that in mind, you will want to have a good amount of airflow moving through, just to make sure that any heat generated by the video card or by the rest of your system is going to be dispersed. I'm going to take a look at your video connectors, your video outs right here. As long as I can get that one off, there we go. So we have two dual-link DVI connectors right there. Bear in mind that the upper one is DVI-I, the bottom one is DVI-D. So, I'm sorry, flip that around. DVI-D on top, DVI-I on the bottom. So all digital up on the top. As you can see, there's no little extra ports there where the plus symbol would be. So this will work totally fine for most digital connectors, but if you are going to use a DVI to VGA converter, use it on the bottom one. That's just one thing to bear in mind. That's sort of similar with all of these 600 series cards that have been released so far. But two dual-link DVIs. With the digital outs, you can get up to 2560 by 1600 resolution. You also have an HDMI out as well as a DisplayPort out. And also bear in mind, you can actually have support for 4 monitors with this single video card. So you can connect 4 monitors. You can use 3 of those for 3D gaming, and the 4th can be a supplemental monitor that you can use for web browsing or chat dialogues or whatever else you want to pull up on there. So here we can see the sort of customized design of this cooler. It's unique, and it's one that haven't really seen much of before. The top here is mostly just this metal shroud. You got the GIGABYTE logo. You got the Super OverClock Gaming Essence logos right there, and that's covering a fairly large set of aluminum fins that's right below it, as well as those 9 copper heat pipes that I mentioned before, protruding from either end of that stack of fins. Flipping around here to this side, and this is the view that most people will have if this is installed in a computer case. You can see the cooling solution, which has 5 40mm fans, and this is solving the problem in a lot of dual card configurations where you have a card sitting here and then you have a card right next to it in say 2-way SLI, in which case the fans for cards, which are usually on this side, would be mostly blocked, which means that the upper GPU or the upper video card in most configurations like that is going to get a lot hotter. What this is allowing the card to do is draw air from within your computer case, so it's not blocked by any other componentry out there, assuming you have decent cable management, of course, and drawing it over that big stack of fins and providing adequate cooling for the card. Of course, with lower temperatures comes more overclocking headroom. And apart from that, the cooling solution also has, as you can see that line of copper right there, a vapor chamber, which is situated right on top of or below from this angle the GPU, which is right here, as well as a lot of the power delivery, as well as the memory. And you're going to have direct contact between the vapor chamber and the GPU. There's also thermal pads that they've installed, which you can sort of see through there, to provide better heat dissipation for the memory. And then also, of course, you got those heat pipes on this side as well as this side. And those are going to be drawing additional heat from that out to the fin stack and cooling off the video card. You also have a base plate on this side, which is protecting the components. There's also some more thermal pads providing some additional heat transfer between the base plate and that componentry. And some other cool features of this card. We mentioned that you have these special pro-analyzer capacitor type devices right here. This is for power delivery. It's got 8-phase power delivery, and looking at it from this side, you actually have 8 power LEDs. So those are going to light up in conjunction with how many power phases it's actually using, depending, of course, on the load that you put on the video card. So you get an easy, quick way to look there and see how much power is being drawn. Next to the fans, you have your 2 power connectors. These are both 8-pin PCI Express power connectors, so that means they're providing 150 watts each per connector, plus 75 watts from the PCI Express bus that you get by default. So 375 watts is the max power that this video card is going to be able to draw. Speaking of, Gigabyte is recommending a 650 watt minimum power supply for this video card and your entire computer. Of course, that's going to vary based on components you have installed, so I recommend giving yourself plenty of headroom if you're going to go with a higher power video card like this. You also have an SPDIF connector down here at this end. Flipping the card over here, down on this end, you actually have a little button. So you'll notice the X logo on it, and that says Extreme. This is this card actually has a dual BIOS, and by pushing that button, you can switch between the standard BIOS, so to speak, the overclock air cooling BIOS, which is going to give you those overclock GPU and memory speeds that I already mentioned earlier. By pushing this button, you can switch over to secondary BIOS, which is LN2 mode, which is actually going to disable some of the fail-safes built into the card, and that will help overclockers bypass the cold bug that sometimes happens when you're running at lower temperatures. And that's going to wrap it up for this video, guys. Once again, this has been the Gigabyte GeForce GTX 680 Super Overclock Edition. I'm Paul with Newegg TV. If you enjoyed today's video, you can head over to our Newegg YouTube channel, and don't forget to subscribe for more tech videos. Thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you next time.